Hey guys, how's it going? Jam here, and welcome to what will probably be quite a long video for the highlights from round 3 of the V8 Juniors Season 2 Championship. As you can see, starting on 4th position for this first race of round 3 at the Nürburgring GP circuit. Starting behind Yami, who I had a fantastic few battles with in the previous race, and oh, there's Blazer. Hi Blazer. And I was also starting behind Yudefti and Tom. Tom, obviously my co-host for this series, and Yudefti, who also featured quite prominently towards the end of last week's video. But we've had quite a normal start. It was initially rather hectic. I did think Yami would be quite a big loser initially, being outside of turn 1, but it turns out that that would completely and utterly not be the case at all, as he's gone from, well, my initial thoughts of being the big loser, to overtaking Tom for second place out of the stadium section on lap 1. I had a pretty standard start. There was quite a little bit of chaos going on all around me, really. There was a few bumps off my inside into turn 1. Obviously, Yami had quite an eventful start. I think he dropped down to like 5th or 6th at one point, just because of the way the corners go around, and then he had the inside, and now he's up into P2. Me, I've just stayed in P4. So we jump towards the end of lap 2 for the first time that anything particularly happens, and I'm not really going on the attack quite like how I would, well, like. As you can see there, Timber Ninetail showing his nose up the up the outside actually into turn 1, and I do manage to fend him off. And fortunately, I do turn defence into attack rather quickly, as Tom seems to have made a mistake around the first section of this track, around turns 1 and 2, and I get up the inside into turn 3. I'm on the outside into turn 4 though, which isn't really the best place to be. There's a little bit of a contact there. The track isn't quite wide enough. We'd like it a bit wider, please. Then contact might not have had to have been made. Well, it didn't have to be made, but you know what I mean. Anyway, we stay side by side up into the next section. I get up the inside, I get a little bit of a slide on, but fortunately I slide across in front of Tom so that he can't get back past. And then I thought he was going to shove it up the inside there through the right-hander, but I was on the outside line. Apparently, I seem to be able to carry more momentum, and that would be me up into P3. I jump all the way now onto lap 5, where I was right on the back of Yami. I cut out quite a bit of me just being close to Yami, because not a lot was really happening, but it was the start of lap 5, sent one down the inside into turn 1. We was talking in a party chat, and I'd caught him up quite quickly. Well, within, what, 3 laps of us overtaking Tom, and Yami couldn't quite put the pressure on the leader of Yudefti, so we orchestrated a move to make it so that neither of us lost a huge amount of time, put it that way. I was going to go up the inside either way, but yes, me and Yami, old teammates, get on well on and off the track, and it was good to see him sort of almost let me have a go at seeing if I could get past Yudefti for the race lead, and I think Yami's plan was to try and follow me through as well, and it would be the start of lap 6 where I'd start to really put the pressure on the race leader. I think that's 2 laps in a row now. He's lined through turn 1, really hasn't been great, and right on the back of him through this left-hander. Not really being able to do anything at the moment. He's positioning his car quite well. I try and get that sort of almost cut back line to really accelerate and try and get a run down this mini back straight, but it's not really happening. We had a quick look back there to see if we see where Yami was, but not really massively close. On to the end of lap 6 into the chicane. Once again, I'm close enough to have a look for a move, but Yudefti defends well, goes quite deep into the chicane though. I get a lovely flowing line through it, and I'm just on the exit. I don't even set myself up for a move into the final corner. I'm passed by the final corner, my brake's on. My braking point isn't brilliant there. Yudefti probably had a slightly better line, so it gave me a little bit of a hurry up tap to try and get me out of the corner a bit quicker. I was thinking he was hoping to try and get a cut back, but that wasn't the case, and there we are, the 3 of us, 3 leaders, all really rather close at this point as we start lap 8. Yami goes up the inside. I didn't even realise he was... Oh yeah, so we've jumped a lap, but I hadn't realised. This is now the start of lap 8. Yami went up the inside. I don't think that was intentional. He's again, as I said, we was chatting in party chat, and he may have slightly missed his braking point a little bit there, but he did manage to eventually make the move stick on Yudefti. There he is in second place, and that will be the end of this rather good first race. There's a lot of good racing between everybody really, and the top 4 all finished really rather close. So it really, I've said really quite a few times, but it truly was a really, really fun race. And for a hectic race to only be sort of 4 and a bit minutes long, that was a good first race, and that is some really brief highlights, because that is only the start of what is to come for race 2. As I won race 1, I would indeed be starting on, or at pole position, pole position, front of the grid for race 2 for this rolling start. Get a pretty standard start. Yami's right on my bumper. He's got a good start as well. I go slightly defensive in towards turn 1, using first gear to hold the tighter line. Not something I do particularly often through there, but it is a good idea when you are quite that tight on the apex. Then it's just a case of I'm trying to hold it not necessarily on the racing line, but just on the inside line to make sure that Yami doesn't have any cheeky moves from quite a distance back at this early point in the race. I mean, Yami's a veteran seasoned driver, so I'm not expecting him to pull off anything too crazy, but I know that he is certainly an opportunist and will definitely take any moves if they appear an option. End of what is actually the first racing lap, even though it says lap 2 on the calendar, on the counter, even because of the way we did the rolling start. Yeah, Yami's. I didn't get the best run through the chicane, and Yami is right there. He's not exactly going to let me run away with this race in these early stages, but if you can see on the map already, we do, and probably on the feet meter as well. I can't actually read it because it's too small in my preview, but me and Yami, while running close together, he's putting me under a bit of pressure. We have between us managed to put a bit of a gap to the rest of the field, so we do have a little bit in hand if we do start battling. And start battling is exactly what we would do. Yami setting me up perfectly for a move up the inside into the right hander that leads onto the back straight and actually tag the gravel, which is really not something you want to be doing. But then Yami on a compromised line runs wide onto the grass through the very fast kink. Under braking, we're going side by side. I'm on the outside. I go lunge around the outside, but then I just can't get it stopped for the second part of the corner. And I think it was pretty much a case of hit Yami or hit the tyre wall there. I chose Yami because because the way that the contact worked, I knew we could both get around the corner. And we've somehow come out of all of that side by side. And we're still side by side as we head down the main straight with Yedefti in third position. Certainly a lot closer than he was a few laps ago when I mentioned about how big of a gap we'd pulled out. On the inside line up into turn 1 though, I do manage to make the move on Yami initially, at least. He's going to have that lovely cutback line and he's going to be on the racing line around the outside for turn 2, although I don't think he's quite going to get the move done, and not initially at least. He's still going to be on the outside. I'm still on the inside, covering the inside line, just trying to hold position. Yami goes for that switchback, he's on my left hand side now, tries to go for that cutback that I was talking about. I parked my car there so he can't do it, tries to get run around the outside. And he does actually manage to get an overlap as we start down towards this next sort of long chicane. I brake very late to try and make sure that I'm just in front through this section. And it initially worked, but I just ran that little bit wide through the next part. And Yami manages to stick his nose up, much like I thought Tom would at one point during the race 1. Tom wasn't able to do it, but Yami was. And then that is what he does. He gets up the inside into the hairpin. I didn't really leave him enough room there, and a little bit of contact was made, but Yami does get the position initially. I get the better run off the corner. We're now going to go too wide around the Schumacher-Esches, and I shouldn't not mention that Yedefti is well and truly right there as well, and Tom isn't exactly far behind either. So much for that gap and bit of leeway that we had. It is now well and truly probably a 4-car race for the lead. There might even be whoever's in 5th back right on the back of this pack as well. I don't know, I'm not looking backwards. But I'm on the outside around this right-hander that goes onto the back straight, and I really did not get a very good run. I was initially trying to put the pressure on Yami, but it ends up being a position that I lose rather than gain. We're too wide through the fast kink. And you saw a lap or two ago about Yami going wide on a compromised line through there. So it is certainly not something you want to be going too wide. I just about managed to keep the position under late braking through the chicane though, and Yami decides he's had enough of this battling and darts into the pits. Both myself, along with Yedefti and Tom in the top 4, all decide to stay out. I personally chose to stay out because even though Yedefti was putting me under a lot of pressure, I thought that now that Yami's gone, with clean air, I can probably start to build a bit of a gap again. And that proved to be relatively correct for me to do. Towards the end of lap 7, Yedefti hasn't made any overtaking attempts, and I have been able to stretch a little bit of a gap. I'm not saying it's significant, but there was a little bit, I think, stretched. And Yedefti does indeed pit on the end of lap 7, leaving myself and, of course, Tom, who's now up into P2, to go into the pits at the end of the pit window, which was lap 8. Although, of course, it's actually confusing because it's the end of the racing lap 7. It's just because we've got the warm-up lap that it's actually lap 8. And as per usual, the pit lane has been sped up drastically so that it doesn't sit there and get boring. And now this is the exciting bit. Can we jump Yami? Remember, he was ahead of us when we came in. I think my lap 8 in-lap was actually a little bit scruffy, but under braking into turn 1, we've just about managed to maintain the lead. There he is, right on our bumper. Yedefti and Tom also staying put, or however staying put, in 3rd and 4th. But yeah, Yami is really rather close. He's up the inside into turn 2. Gives me a little bit of a tap as he looks to the inside in turn 3, which puts him on the outside for turn 4 though, and I would keep the lead for now. But it is far from over, as a good run around the outside of turn 4 once again gives Yami the inside into the next corner. I brake as late as I can and try and carry the speed around the outside, which I do manage to do. I don't want to give him the cut back this time because he's had that before, so I make sure I've got the inside and try and get a good run down towards the hairpin. I am indeed on the inside this time, which is definitely the better place to be. It looks like Yami might have a slightly better run than me though. Under brakes, it's pretty even, but I do have that inside line. Yami's going to brake a little bit earlier, I believe, or a little bit harder and cut back to the apex with me so he doesn't get stuck on the outside and potentially lose a position to Yedefti like I did when I was in that position. Cutting out a few corners now, and I've made a bit of a mistake. I'm going to run slightly wide and just tag the gravel ever so slightly. This corner running onto the back straight certainly giving me a lot of trouble in this round, and Yami would just carry the superior momentum and overtake me for the lead, and Yedefti's going to try and get me for P2 as well. I brake really late trying to defend from Yedefti, and I end up giving Yami a tap, and he taps the tyre wall because of it. And yeah, that was my bad, my over-exuberant defending, I think they call that. So I make sure I'm on a nice wide line. I want to concede the position back to Yami. I don't want to overtake him like that, but I didn't exactly intend on this though. I thought I defended somewhat reasonably enough against Yedefti to hold my position for position 2. And Tom certainly wasn't in the fight or involved in that at all. But it would be P4 that I would drop to with a really wide line out of the final corner. Trying to get a cutback on Tom through turn 1 immediately, but he covered it well. He was on that inside, but he's going to be on the outside for turn 2, so I'm going to throw it up the inside. A little bit more contact made between us, not for the first time this evening. But what's a little tap between two co-hosts, eh? And they're going too wide and have a little tap in front of us as well. Yedefti slightly on an outside line, so I try and stick my nose in to try and get involved. But I wasn't close enough at this point. This is a really hectic race. Yedefti is going... Look, I thought he was looking for a little bit of an outside, round the outside move there, but it doesn't look like he's trying to manage that. I throw it up the inside as you definitely look to try and potentially on a cutback line to Yami, but when you try a cutback line with a car behind you, you leave yourself open to them throwing themselves up the inside, and that's exactly what I tried there. Unfortunately for me, on this occasion, it did not pay off. I go very deep into the hairpin, trying to have a look up Yedefti's inside, but I didn't have any sort of overlap, so I had to brake very hard in order to back out of it. And Tom was able to go around my outside briefly as well, but fortunately for me, we managed to retain position on the exit of the corner. On to lap 11 now, and Yami has pulled a little bit of a gap from Yedefti, so I want to try and get past him to make sure I can get back up to the Canadian leader. And Yedefti certainly wouldn't make it easy for me. I was up the inside into turn 1, but that puts me on the outside into turn 2. I somehow managed to carry the momentum. Yedefti still got a bit of an overlap on my inside into turn 3. I squeeze him as tight as I can on the apex, and I've just about managed to do that to give me a prioritising line up the inside into turn 4, and there I am, clean through into P2. And now we jump onto the penultimate lap of the race, and I have indeed managed to close the gap a little bit to Yami. And going into turn 1, there's a tiny little bit of a touch between us there as I carried a little bit more entry speed whilst Yami was setting up for a bit more exit speed, and we would be running nose and tail through most of this first sector. Once again, just having a look at a late move up the inside, but never really expecting it to come to anything. But with Yami on a really bad line, I get a fantastic run out of turn 4, and get a seriously good overlap as we head towards the next few corners. Braking hard around the outside. I've been here so many times this evening. I'm starting to get used to being on this outside. Hold it relatively well, and I do manage to once again hold the inside into the next corner. A tiny bit of contact as we try and hold our lines through each other. But we would still be slightly alongside. Yami's just about got his nose in as we head down towards the hairpin. No contact would be made this time, but Yami does try and look for that cutback line, tries to stick his nose up the inside gap, but I make sure that that gap is not big enough for a nose to be stuck up into. And on the exit of the corner, I would indeed retain my position. Once again, it's this same corner that I seem to be struggling with. Yami showing his nose and having just a much better run than me. I'm pretty committed round the fast corner. So's Yami. I tucked the curb on the inside. Yami's running a little bit wide onto the outside. And I just don't get the best line through the chicane. I took a little bit too much entry speed and I couldn't quite get the power down on the exit as the corner switched back to the right. Yami does, and he pulls off nearly the same move that I did on Yedefti at the end of race 1. Although I'd got past before the corner, Yami had to use the last corner to set me up to get past, and we would be side by side as we come across to cross the line. And once again, no cool down lap this week. We've scrapped that idea as the replay's cut off anyway, so it's completely pointless. But that does mean we are racing to the end, and I've got my nose back in front around the outside of turn 1. But I'm never going to be able to hold it there. That is not something you're really going to do unless you throw it back up the inside into turn 2. I'm still on the inside. Yami's on the outside. I get a little bit of a slide, which isn't going to help. I'm still there as we go into turn 4. I've run a little bit deep on the inside line. I should be tighter than that, and I've given Yami a little bit of a touch, but he's still on the inside as we go through turn 4. I'm on that outside line though, so I should be able to put my power down a little bit better. And I do manage to clear Yami. Half a lap to go, and I am leading the race. No one has won both races in a single round yet. I'm half a lap away from doing so, but I run really wide through the right-hander, and Yami's up the inside down towards the hairpin. I do get a slightly better run, and it does curve back round to the left a little bit. I'm trying to get clear Yami's car. I touch the grass and have a little bit of a moment, and that was a lot scarier than it perhaps looked. It didn't look that dramatic, but boy, it seriously felt it. That enabled Yami to clear me on around the hairpin. I do get a slightly better exit, but tapping the curbing there seemed to make me lose my momentum, and Yami would stay in front. I wouldn't be able to get my nose even partially alongside through the Schumacher S's. On the exit though, I would be able to. I'm on the outside around the left hand corner as we approach the corner that I have really been struggling with, but I am on the inside line. I throw it up the inside. Yami cuts across and really pinches me on the curb, and he would get back in front of me with just 3 corners to go. I've got one last chance. I can either throw it up into the... well, 2 chances, I suppose. I can either throw it up to the inside of the chicane, or I can set him back for the cutback that's been pulled off successfully twice already this round. One on me, one by me, so I go for that. We both cut a lot of the apex on the second corner, and Yami just about manages to get back on the inside line for the final corner before I manage to get there. And round the final corner, I go for a little bit of a cutback line, but Yami's there. I run into his rear bumper, and we would be running nose to tail to the finish line for Yami's win in this second race of round 3. And that is that for this round. Identical results between me and Yami at Hockenheim. There's something about Germany. Apparently I win the first race and Yami wins the second race. It's happened 2 weeks in a row now. So congratulations to Yami, which I must say with some resentment for outscoring me by a whopping 1 point for the second week running. I can hardly complain though. I mean, 55 points is certainly a quality haul, and with Yami having a poor opening round at Mugello, it would be myself that would still lead the standings at this point. Unfortunately, Hordes had a power cut, so couldn't partake in this round, which is a shame because we had a phenomenal 4-car battle anyway. Hordes is certainly going to be up there as well, so it could have been potentially a 5-car battle. But anyway, that is it for this highlights video. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.